Hello everyone, I am very excited to be coming at you today with a review on the AK-12 magazine. So I will be going very in-depth in this video on it, but let's just start with the most basic things. So getting started with it now that it's just regular and in the gun, let's just start with the wobble, something super basic. So this will be a bit hard to see on a camera because as you can see there's very little. I'll try to hold the gun as steady as possible. I'll actually put the sling on for some added tension. But so we don't have very much wobble. This is one of the least wobbly mags I have. Very little. That's probably, I don't know, a degree or two at most of wobble side to side. And back and forth it's moving a little bit, but it's less than a degree of movement. So that's excellent. This does have, I'll go over this more later, but this does have kind of a cut in the back of the mag to use it as like a monopod. So it makes sense you wouldn't want it to be wiggling around very much at all when it's like that. It's not a super tight fit though, on that note. Like this just goes right in and out of the gun very easily. I don't have any difficulty doing this. I could do this 100 times over. I've been testing quite a few mags recently, and that is an issue with a few mags, is that they're pretty tight even if they're working properly. So for example, a Tula Plum, I just got these as well, and I've noticed they are quite a bit tighter. These also don't have wobble, but just as a kind of comparison, I actually have to, it's hard to really show it in the video, but I have to really push on the magazine catch to actually pull it out. It really wants to stick. These are very thick mags, so. And then the other thing I'm noticing immediately right off the bat on this magazine is there are kind of these notches. Let me get it up a bit closer so you can hopefully see it. But there's kind of these, there we go. So there's kind of notches here on the front, like top part of the mag. I don't know what those are for, but I would suspect they might be to kind of improve your grip when you are holding it by the magazine itself. I've seen a lot of Russian military using it. I've done a video on the magazine grip as well, and I think it's really good, but maybe that's what it's for. I think it's fine to just do a magazine wall grip even without that, but I could see this being a bit more comfortable by having it there, so that's nice. And next is these are supposed to have a glow-in-the-dark follower. So I've been doing a bit of testing myself already off camera with it. And when I first got this mag, I was thinking, like, this doesn't have a glow-in-the-dark follower. It looks just like a normal AK follower. In fact, I'm pretty sure I could use a standard just 545 AK, AK-74 magazine follower in here. It seems like they'd be interchangeable. But what I noticed when I actually loaded this, as you can see, I have I have exactly 15 rounds in here. So if you see the follower, so these numbering, or these numbers on the side, these actually correspond to the follower's position, not to the lowest round you can see. Some mags do it the other way around, some do a painted coil in the case of P-mags, but this one is the spot of the follower, and it seems to be very exact, so that is great. But if you look closely, I'll show it, actually no, you can kind of see it now. There's a little bit of white painted on the side of the follower, and it's on both sides. And that is a very strong glow-in-the-dark sort of paint. So I don't know how well this is going to look on video. I was testing it out. I say it's strong. It seems very similar to tritium, but you can't really notice it that well unless it's very, very dark. I'm going to try to douse the lights here, and maybe you'll be able to see it on the camera, but maybe not. So let's find out. So that's very difficult to see. I don't know if you can even see me, but if you can see that little bit of like a glowing coil, if you can even see my index finger that I'm kind of wiggling here, that is the glow-in-the-dark follower. So let me get the lights back on and I'll keep talking about this because it's kind of awkward to be talking to you all in pitch black. So one thing I was thinking when I heard that this had a glow-in-the-dark follower is that that's great, but then I was thinking, what about like other people seeing you? I was thinking this might glow so heavily that it would kind of expose your position, but it's just a little bit, and I don't think it could. As you saw, it's pretty difficult to see. It's almost impossible to see on the camera. I can see it easily, I would say. You do have to kind of go up to it though to see it. So in a regular situation, if it's your rifle and you pull it close to you at night to see how many rounds you have left, I think it would work very well in that situation. Whereas you would still, you'd have trouble seeing it from a further distance away. I don't know how it would look under night vision though. I don't actually have any on hand to test. I did a night vision video in the past. That's not my night vision. I had to borrow it. So I unfortunately am not able to test that, but maybe in the future. Very, very possibly I'll do that in a future video or something. But that about does it for the basics of this magazine. Let's go to the table now and do a few tests with magnets and the weight and whatever else I can think of. So let's head over there right now. Alright, so getting started with the weight, I'm just going to be comparing it to just a very standard true black Izmash magazine. So this one weighs 192 grams. I'm not going to show it, but some other magazine weights, I'll put it up on the screen. I do remember, for example, a Tula mag is the heaviest one I've ever used at 200 grams. So, but for the baseline, 192. And now taking this AK-12 mag, we've got 184. Let me put it on its back and just see, is that accurate? Yes, or actually 186 is what it looks like. Since I'm getting a slightly different measurement, let me do one more check. Okay, so it's between 184 and 186. So actually, this is quite a bit lighter. Well, maybe not quite a bit, but it is a bit lighter. That is good. Next, I want to talk about loading this and then a bit about the follower as well. So as you can see, this, just like most magazines for the AKs, or for the AK-74s, has this little cut in the back here. That is for stripper clips. As you can see, the true black ones also have it. The Tulas I was mentioning earlier all have it. The only one I have seen that does not have it is the Polish VMAX magazines. But I'm going to test. Let's see how well stripper clips go into here. Okay, just some standard Wolf lacquered ammo, 60 grain FMJ. So let's see. Goes on just like normal, not specifically tight or specifically, or not particularly loose or tight. And let's find out how this goes. Okay, that is impressive. First 15 actually went in very easily, very comparable so far to these true blacks. I've had a lot of good luck with loading the stripper clips in here. It's always kind of awkward, but let's try loading in the next 15. That's where sometimes there's a bit difficulty. Actually, one more thing I just remembered before I do that. I wanted to mention a thing about the follower. Is I saw when I was buying one of these, or before I was buying it, that people say that this has a glow-in-the-dark follower. That's not true. It does glow in the dark. However, it's not the follower itself per se. If you can see here, right there, so on the follower, there's actually a little bit of glow-in-the-dark paint on both sides of it. You actually can't see it very well from this angle just because of my lighting. I will show it better later, but it does just have a little bit of paint on each side. It's not the follower itself that glows. So, anywho, let's go on to loading the last 15 in here. Let's see if we can get this up to 30. Okay, having a bit of trouble here. One trick I found is to just pull a few down at a time, which kind of defeats the purpose of a stripper clip. I can do this quicker by hand. I've gotten, you know, loading so many mags over the years, I've gotten the hang of doing it pretty quickly. So overall, this is pretty much identical in performance for loading a stripper clip into it as all the other mags that I've used, which is to say, an extremely unpleasant experience. Pinched my finger a bit there, but there we go. So that's 30 rounds. And I'm just checking, you know, this should be a 30-round magazine, but yeah, it is indeed a 30. You can see a 31st round will not fit. And you can see if you look down at that last window here, it's not actually the rounds being counted, it's the follower's position that's being counted. So the follower is here at this 30-round mark, and then the rest of the rounds are above it. Now I'm going to actually get this unloaded. I should have done this earlier, but Next, let's do a magnet test, and I wanted to compare the difference in how well this is reinforced compared to other mags like the True Black I was just showing, and that Tula that I keep mentioning. So I'll get this unloaded and we'll do that. Might be because this is a brand new magazine, but I am noticing this is actually very easy to strip rounds off compared to most of the other mags that I've gotten used to using. None of them are particularly difficult, but it just seems like this is just a little bit extra easy. Oh, and I didn't show this earlier, but as you can see, this is what the follower looks like. Looks to be a standard AK magazine follower for a 5.45. Alright, so getting started with the magnet test. So we have reinforced feed lips, as you can see, very reinforced. This isn't wanting to fall off very easily. The front catch is steel, the back catch is steel. Seemed like we have reinforcement kind of throughout here. I'm not sure. It is kind of sticking, not a whole lot, but as you can see, a little bit of sticking is occurring there. And on the front, it is seems to be reinforced all the way, probably all the way. It wants to slip a little here, but if you see here, like it sticks down to that point as well. Pretty good. Now let's do this plum mag. This is just a Tula plum mag, as you can see. Let's do this one next. I've noticed, doing some stuff off camera, this seems to be the most reinforced mag, which would kind of make sense because it weighs the most as well. But getting started, of course, the feed lips are reinforced, catch on the front and back are reinforced, and the front is reinforced. Again, not that much here, but it is sticking more, which is kind of hard to illustrate on a video, but it is sticking more here than it was on the AK-12 mag, and the back is also, seems like the entire thing there is reinforced pretty heavily. Next, let's do the Izmash True Black. So, again, both of these are reinforced, or are steel. The catches are steel, the lips are reinforced. The front is identical. This is identical in reinforcement, it feels like, to the AK-12 mag. The back feels about the same. Let me actually check this one again. Actually, right here the magnet wants to slip a bit on this one, whereas it doesn't on here. I don't know. It could actually be reinforced the exact same. However, this overall seems to have more material. If you look at the front, for instance, it's a very easy spot to see it, how this kind of comes out in an angle. None of these other AK mags do that. They all just kind of come flat down. So it could be that there's some additional material in the back as well that's, you know, kind of hard to see that might be doing that. But I don't know. Seems to be fine, but that is something to keep in mind. Now to go over a few of the actual features of this, as I mentioned earlier, this does have the glow-in-the-dark, or not really glow-in-the-dark follower, but the sides glow-in-the-dark, which is really nice. And the other big thing about this that I quite like, of course, you can see it pretty obviously, the windows, which helps you to see how many rounds you have at a glance. But the other thing is this shape of the base plate. You can kind of use this as a monopod. It actually sits up pretty well in that regard. I'll test it out a little bit. I don't know if I'll be able to get footage of it at the range. It's kind of hard to set up the camera when I'm crouching, but maybe I can get something worked out. We'll see. But this is good. This seems good. Let me take this apart and let's take a look at the internals a bit, and then I can show hopefully the glow-in-the-dark follower a bit better. It didn't seem to come through very well because of my lighting currently. So to take this apart, I tried it earlier off camera, so I'm already a bit familiar with it. Exactly the same. Did not mean to drop that. I'll have lowered the volume on that. But anyway, it comes apart the same way as a regular AK mag, so you just got to push this down and then slide the base plate off towards the rear. I feel like it's actually, I don't know, if you're new to AKs, or admittedly when I'm just being absent-minded, it's a bit easy to forget that it comes on and off from the rear. But in this case, it's very obvious because it does have the curve for like a monopod. It's impossible to even get it started on fitting from the front. I did notice, like I was saying earlier, I have disassembled this already once, and it's a little tough. I don't know if they have a stronger spring or if it's just because of the shape. I'm leaning more towards the latter. It's harder to get a good grip on here. Normally, on these mags, I like to grip kind of here when I'm disassembling it, and it comes apart really easily. But on here, I don't really have that hold. It covers the whole thing, and it's very flush on the sides, as you can see. So I do have quite a bit more of a challenge. I actually use just a bullet tip to push this down, and that worked well. I sometimes don't have to do it. It makes it easier, even on the regular AK mags, to use a round, but in this case, I kind of have to, so not the end of the world, because when you have a mag, you almost always have ammo in it, so I'm going to get one right now. So just kind of goes into the little hole here, and then there we go, got it kind of started, and then I can push that down just a little bit more. That's not wanting to come down. There we go. I just had to get it started. I kind of pushed it against my chest and was able to get it easier that way. So now that it's started, just like a usual mag, can pop this off. And I normally, when I'm on camera, I screw up my springs in my. Actually, I guess I wouldn't have uploaded that by now. But there's another video where I totally let the spring fly out. So I tend to have bad luck with springs in these videos. But there we go. So let's take a look here. So getting started with the follower itself, let's see, hopefully you can see that, yeah, quite a bit better now. You can see there is that little glow-in-the-dark paint on both sides. It looks like this follower would probably be interchangeable with a regular magazine follower from just, you know, a standard magazine. And based on how the spring is connecting, it looks like you could probably change out the spring for just a regular magazine spring as well, which is great for maintainability. Unfortunately, for maintainability, it is impossible to find replacement base plates for these AK-12 mags, unless you just buy an entirely another mag, but I'm not about to do that with how expensive these are in the first place. And while I've got this magazine taken apart, one thing I noticed is if you push on the mag, even when it's assembled, it has a little bit of give to it. I don't know if that's a good thing. I would assume if you drop it, that it would probably hold up better then. It wouldn't crack because it's not trying to hold a rigid shape. It has a bit better strength that way. Compared to the true black, feels a lot more rigid. It still has a tiny bit of give. And then comparing it to the plum, this has pretty much no give whatsoever. This has very similar give. If you're familiar with the Bulgarian commercial mags, actually this polymer as well, it feels, in terms of texture, that's another thing I want to mention, the texture of it, I feel like I'm reviewing food at this point, but the texture of it feels very similar to the Bulgarian commercial mags. I don't know if that's indicative of what type of polymer they use to make this, or maybe it's just some sort of finish they do. I'm not very familiar with plastics, so I wouldn't know, but that is how it feels, which is interesting. And just, I don't know, kind of looking in the mag, I don't know if any of you would find this interesting, but you can see it's pretty much flat all the way through here. Of course, it does kind of go in a little bit when it, so where the windows can be seen through it, you can see they kind of have notches on both sides to before those start. So, anywho, I'm going to get this put back together. This gets put together the exact same way as just a regular mag, so this just slides in from the bottom. And we just got to push the spring in. Now this is a little awkward. As you can see, it's hard to get anywhere to put my finger to hold the follower down, or the spring down rather, when I'm trying to put on this plate here. Certainly more awkward to disassemble and reassemble than a regular AK mag. Still not bad, but that shape just makes it kind of awkward. But of course the shape, on the other hand, has its own advantages too. As I mentioned, the monopod sort of thing. God, yeah, this is annoying. There we go. I think I got it on both sides. Yeah, so now I can just hit it forward just like regular, and that is all good. So I think that about covers it for the features. Hopefully, well, if I forgot anything, I'll add it in here, but Let's take this out to the range now and I'll test it out. It pains me to shoot a lot of ammo, but I do want to run a full 30 through here to see if there's any reliability issues. I've never used these types of mags before, so we'll find out. That will be the real test. So let's go. So the first thing I wanted to do with this mag is test its performance under rapid fire. That's generally a pretty good test to see if a magazine will perform well. And yeah, this is indeed the same footage that I was using in the intro, but this time I'm actually able to explain things over it, so that's why I'm playing it again. One more thing I do want to mention is I will not be doing any torture tests on this. I'm not about to do that to a magazine that was as expensive as this. Testing the monopod capabilities now of this magazine. See how it does. Surprisingly not moving that much. I thought it would actually bounce back from the recoil. It might be because this has carpeting on it, but so far so good. I'm just going to fire a few more and we'll call it there, because I'm already in pain for firing 30 rounds. It's too much money. Slipped a little bit there if you noticed, but not bad. And I also decided to shoot 2 rounds under slow motion just to see if there's any bounce then, and as you can see, there's really not that much even under slow motion where you can see every single frame. So this is performing very well so far. Alright, so we are back from the range and all went extremely well. I did want to do that rapid fire test just to test the reliability of it. And yeah, everything worked perfectly. I am extremely happy with this mag. I would say if you can find one, to definitely get it. It's a great mag, but the thing is they are very expensive because they are hard to find in the US here. I don't know the case for other countries where they sell AKs, like in Europe. This might be quite a bit easier to get in terms of price and availability. At least here in the US, these are quite expensive and quite hard to find. So, you know, you got price and it's like, can you even find it even if you have the money? But if you can find them, I would definitely recommend them. They have so many incredible features to them that honestly, a lot of them I didn't even think of, but now that I have them on here, I really, really like them and I kind of don't want to go back to a regular mag now. The monopod sort of thing specifically, I was shocked at how well that worked. I thought it would just be kind of a gimmick, and I was really expecting, so if my hand here was the table, I was very much expecting it to just bounce off and have just crazy amounts of recoil and be uncontrollable shooting like this, but it's actually very nice. It doesn't do that very much. Again, if you notice in the footage, and as I mentioned, that was on a carpeted table, so it probably would slide around quite a bit more on a wood or a metal table or other surfaces in general, but it wasn't that bad. But that is something to take into consideration. So the only real cons I could say about this mag are the price of it, the availability of it, and also going along with the availability of it is it's pretty unlikely for the base plate to break. I mean, if you drop your mags, then I could see it happening, but generally there's not a whole lot of stress on the base plate. But if you do need to replace it, that would be a bit of an issue because you can't get replacement AK-12 magazine base plates. You would have to pretty much just get an entire AK-12 mag, at least at this point. Maybe in the future some companies will make them. I certainly hope so. I would like to get some replacement parts just in case. But on the note of replacement parts, it seems like everything else in here would be totally interchangeable with a regular magazine. So the follower and the spring. So that's pretty good at least. So I hope that this has been informative. I noticed there's not really any other videos in English talking really in depth about the AK-12 mag. So yeah, hopefully this answered any questions you might have. Of course, if you have any others that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to leave them in the comments. I would be glad to either answer them there or make another video on it. As I mentioned, maybe in the future I could do one on how this follower looks under night vision. Tons of other stuff. If any of you have any ideas for things you want me to do, then let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I have always wanted to get one of these mags for years now. So I've been very happy to make this video. This has been awesome. So appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all in the next one. So take care and see you all then.